Welcome to Golf Cask Original Series, The Blend. Perfect for golf and whiskey enthusiasts alike. Hey there, Golf Cast Nation. This is Brian Bailey here bringing you episode 9 of The Blend. Excited this week. We're going to talk about tempo and timing. We're going to talk about controlling putt distance, especially short putts, as well as the burn of the barrel and how that affects flavors of your whiskey. So we're really going to talk about time, how important time is. So again, with the actual burning of your whiskey barrel, it can enhance and actually take away from flavors of your final product. How important to understand the char is, just as important as being able to understand in time and length. For short putts inside of 10 feet, what do I need to do to be able to deliver the ball a certain distance? So again, when I talk speed control, or distance control inside of putting, it's kind of the same. It's my ability to create a speed of the ball so it'll travel a certain distance, right? So I'll use those terms interchangeably just so I don't confuse you. So before we dive into the meat, and game-wise, we're going to do a new whiskey nose game. And then I'm going to give you one of my favorite putting drills to work on speed control and making more putts inside of 10 feet called progression. So that'll be the genesis of what we're talking about today. But before we dive into the meat of today's podcast, let's do a quick review. We are in a membership push right now. I'm calling it Let's Complete the Foursome. If you please add 3 friends for free inside of GolfCast, get them to create a free membership inside of GolfCast that have a passion for whiskey and golf, right? So who is that foursome? Who are the other 3 people you'd want to be in your foursome to play golf and drink some whiskey? We're growing right now. We have really cool stuff coming. I'm going to probably release a video to members only, probably this week coming up, explaining where we're going and all the cool stuff that you're going to get for being a Golf Cask member, a free member, as well as kind of a premium member. So we'll talk about that. Also, we have a $100 challenge set up. On Wednesday, I'll be heading to Whiskey Jar, which is Charlottesville's, premier whiskey bar. They have agreed to do the $100 challenge. I will be rolling in there. We'll see if I can find a friend to come join me. But on Wednesday, we'll be rolling in there, and we're going to go ahead and put them through the $100 challenge. Excited about that. And we're also going to talk with Chris a little bit on the side, a little bit about the whiskey business and kind of what he sees as a manager of the Whiskey Jar and kind of the future of whiskey and things along that line. So it'll be a really fun conversation and challenge. What kind of great pours have I had this week? I would say this week was actually pretty mellow on whiskey drinking. Got a lot of things going on, a lot of pieces that I'm moving around, so I didn't get a sample as much as I normally do during the week, but I did have a Mitchers Toasted. Can never go wrong with Mitchers. As well as I'm doing a blind tasting today, so I'll give you some feedback on that next week. I don't even know what it'll be. It's kind of in that flavor category, so we're going to pick a number and just roll with it. So I'll give you some more feedback on that. Social Jump, man, you guys are awesome. Last week we were talking about 30,000 contacts. We've pushed closer to 50,000 in the last 30 days by my calculations by that. So we really made a really big segue again, another leap. Membership has gone up. We love that, as well as our ability to contact people via socials. So keep that going. Keep friending. Keep liking. Please comment. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, are the 3 main channels I'm really focusing on. We do some stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, but those are the 3. So make sure if you haven't followed us there that you do. Golf Cask, really cool stuff there. Greens and Grain, August 23rd here in Charlottesville, Virginia, or actually in Standardsville. We'll be out at Green Hills. We're going to play 9 holes at 5 p.m., and then we're going to do a bottle share after. So if you're available August 23rd, 5 p.m., let me know. You can send me an email at brian@golfcask. You can hit me up on any of the socials and let me know that you're interested in coming. So again, August 23rd, if you want to join us for Greens and Grain, it'll be fun. It's all you have to do is pay for the golf. So come on out. And then the final thing, adventure-wise, we do have our adventure is being set. In September, I'll have all the actual nooks and crannies of what's happening. But we'll be back at the Whiskey Jar for a dinner and a tasting. We will be back at Birdwood playing golf. We'll probably be going to Ragged Branch and or Silverback to do some tastings. And then I'm thinking we might even play golf at Green Hills on Sunday, maybe 9 holes, and then do a bottle share fun lunch afterwards. So that's kind of what I have itinerary planned. It can change a little bit, but again, December 6, 7, 8, mark your calendars to come join us here in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're going to do another little Irons and Oak. And again, we're cutting this off at probably 16, maybe 20 total players. So 4 or 5 teams max. That's it. Anything bigger than that, it just becomes unmanageable for me. So again, we're going to have a very small group, and it'll be an adventure of Irons and Oaks. So make sure you mark your calendar down for those days coming up. Other than that, we have a great podcast. Dive in here. Miles will be joining us in a little bit of the chart and science behind it. But other than that, it's just me giving you some great insight on golf and on whiskey. And enjoy the episode. Time to pour some knowledge into our whiskey experience. Hey there, Golfcast Nation. This is Brian Bailey here, bringing you the knowledge pour inside of charred barrels and maturation of whiskey, right? We're expanding your knowledge inside of your whiskey enthusiasm. So without further ado, let's talk about maturation as a general overall theme, and then we'll dive in a little bit deeper with Miles on the different types of char of the barrel. So the first thing we need to understand is when the whiskey comes off the still, it is completely clear. The grain, the yeast, how it was stilled, how often it was stilled, all that matters in the flavor of the whiskey, but a large percentage of the whiskey flavor is going to actually come out of the barrel, because as the whiskey sits in a vessel, and for most whiskeys it's an oak barrel, and for bourbons it's American white oak, and it will be charred on the inside. So as it sits in the barrel, the whiskey is going to move in and out of the barrel, and it's going to pull flavors out of the wood. The reason they char the wood is to actually create simple sugars, and those sugars and a lot of the compounds that are created during the char actually help filter and also create flavors inside the whiskey. So with your bourbons, you have really a lot of vanilla, you have a lot of caramel. That is coming from the char of the wood. We're going to do a whole episode on maturation, about at certain age points you can start to pull out different flavors. We'll have an entire episode on that. But just understand the maturation process is putting the distillant into a barrel and sticking it on a shelf for anywhere from 2 years to 30 years. So again, just having that understanding of what maturation is. So that's kind of the aging process. Like I said, there's an environmental process to aging where the whiskey wants to move in and out of the barrel, in and out of the wood, sorry, not the barrel. So as humidity and heat rises, it expands the liquid inside the barrel and it pushes into the wood. And as it gets colder, so as your seasons change, it pulls back into the wood. That's why U.S. bourbons age much faster than those of our Scotch and Irish counterparts. And to give you an idea of that, here's Heaven Hill 7-year. And this is Glenmorangie, a 14, right? And if you actually look at the color of these two whiskeys, they're very similar, right? But they aged, the Scotch whiskey aged twice as long as that of the American bourbon. Why? Because in Kentucky, you're going to get summers up over 100 degrees and you're going to get winters down around 0. So we're getting a huge fluctuation of weather. Inside of Scotland, man, it doesn't change much, right? Summers are going to be not very hot, winters not very cold, so that temperate weather doesn't allow the whiskey to move in and out of the barrel as much. So that's why these two whiskeys are aged at two completely different time periods, but the environmental conditions of the two really affect how the aging process has, how the filtration of the barrels work, and how that flavor profile gets poured into the different whiskeys. So I thought that would be a good example for you. Also, the char of the barrel is really, really important. So here you can see an actual barrel slat. I'll bring that up. I haven't really scraped this one very much, so you can see there's a lot of carbon and there is actually some cracking throughout here. So this would be kind of a moderate char, and we'll get Miles to talk about that in a second. But that charring allows it to move, to allow the alcohol to move in and out. And if you can see on the side, you can actually kind of see a ring of how far the actual alcohol moved into the barrel. So you can see kind of that ring, what it looks like when the whiskey moves in and out of the wood. Again, that is an important part. That's a filtration piece and a complexity and smoothness of end product piece for it to be able to move in and out of the barrel. So understanding char is really important. And the final one is complexity and smoothness, right? So aging gives it complexity. The longer it sits in the barrel, the more compounds that will interact with the whiskey, and you'll create different flavor profiles. So typically, the longer in the barrel, the more complex the whiskey. So when a lot of people talk about that whiskey's young, means it just doesn't have a lot of complexity. It was 2 years in the barrel, you know, it's kind of went through the filtration process, maybe starting to bring in some sweetnesses and some other components, but it hasn't had that ability to create complexity yet. Smoothness as well. Typically, the longer in the barrel, the smoother the actual whiskey becomes. Not always, but usually you'll start to pick up more, you know, sweet notes, more vanilla notes. Looking at bourbon, you also bring in more wood notes. But the beauty is it also creates a smoothness because it is in a charred barrel. The char does filter and take away impurities inside the alcohol. So again, it gives you a much more complex and much usually smoother whiskey. So the longer it's in the barrel, not always, there are outliers, but it usually has more complexity and more smoothness. So that's kind of a good overview of maturation. Let's get Miles to come in here and give us some science behind the charring. So let's see here. Hey, Miles.
Hi, Brian. How can I help?
Can I get you to give us a kind of overview of the charring process, why it's important, the different stages of it, and really enlighten us on how important the char is into maturation and flavor of your whiskey?
Can I start with a joke?
Sure, we'll listen to a joke.
Why did the AI prefer whiskey from a charred barrel? Because it knew that just like its code, a little bit of char adds a lot of complexity.
AI's got a lot of work to do in humor. So, without further ado, Miles, please give us the breakdown on the chars, and I'm going to sit here and enjoy 2 whiskeys as you're talking. Thank you, sir.
Golfcast Nation, let me explain the science behind barrel char. The charring of whiskey barrels is a fascinating process that significantly impacts the flavor and quality of the final product. 1. What is barrel charring? This involves exposing the interior surface of the oak barrel to an open flame. This process can range from a light toast to a heavy char, depending on the desired flavor profile. 2. Chemical transformations. Cellulose breakdown. The heat helps convert wood into simpler sugars. Formation of char layer. This acts as a natural filter, removing undesirable compounds from the whiskey. Release of lignin. A complex organic polymer in wood, breaks down into phenolic compounds like vanillin, contributing to the vanilla and caramel notes in the whiskey. 3. Filtration and flavor development. Activated carbon. The char layer absorbs impurities and unwanted flavors from the whiskey. Flavor infusion. As the whiskey interacts with the charred wood, it absorbs flavors such as smoke, spice, sweetness, enhancing its complexity. 4. The charring process for whiskey barrels varies in duration based on the desired level of char. Here's a breakdown of the typical times required for each char level. Char 1, light char. Duration, approximately 15 to 30 seconds. Characteristics, provides subtle flavors, enhancing the woodiness and slight sweetness of the whiskey. This light char is used when minimal filtration and flavor infusion are desired. Char 2, medium char. Duration, approximately 30 to 35 seconds. Characteristics, offers a balanced profile with moderate wood and caramelized flavors. This level is often chosen for a mix of filtration and flavor enhancement. Char 3, heavy char. Duration, approximately 35 to 45 seconds. Characteristics, imparts a richer array of smoky, spicy, and sweet notes. The heavy char is popular for its robust flavor contribution and effective filtration properties. Char 4, alligator char. Duration, approximately 45 to 55 seconds. Characteristics, named for its cracked, alligator-like appearance. This level provides intense smoky, caramel, and vanilla flavors. The alligator char offers significant filtration and bold flavor enhancement, making it a favorite for creating complex and full-bodied whiskeys. Gulf Cask Nation, the charring of barrels is a delicate balance of art and science. It is essential in crafting a whiskey's final flavor profile, contributing to its depth, complexity, and smoothness.
Well, thank you, Miles. That was very informative, very helpful, and again, gives us a good sense of what the char is and why it's important. I will be doing a future episode on the different compounds that'll actually happen inside the char to give you a better understanding of where the flavors and what flavors are coming from, and why can you taste vanilla, why can you taste nuts, smoke, and all these different components. So we'll do kind of a science of whiskey, a bigger breakdown in the future. But again, I just wanted to give you a good understanding of the maturation process, as well as really defining one of the main characteristics of that, which is your barrel char. So Miles did a great job on that. Cheers to you and to all. Man, 2 phenomenal whiskeys here. We got a malt, we have a bourbon. This one's actually 100 proof. This is in the 90s. Both spectacular whiskeys. This is aged in bourbon barrels used, and of course American bourbon has to be aged in new white oak barrels, but phenomenal whiskeys, completely taste different. 114, 17. Man, life is good when you have options like this. Thank you everybody for listening, and let's dive into our whiskey game this week called Whiskey Nose. Enjoyed it. Cheers to whatever your fancy is. Let's up our skills with whiskey games. All right, Golf Cast Nation, this is Brian Bailey here, bringing you our fun game of the week. We're going to call this one Whiskey Nose. That's right. So what I did is I had my wife, my lovely wife, came down here a little while ago. I selected 3 whiskeys for her to pick. I wanted to make the first game the easiest, so I didn't look like a big dumb dummy. So we have Glenkitchy 12, which is a Scotch out of the Lowlands. Really good whiskey, probably my favorite Scotch, as you can tell. The bottle is sprung a leak. And then I went with a Redwood Empire, again one of my favorite bourbons. It's different in flavor, different on the nose than a lot of bourbons. Again, a big fan of Redwood Empire. And then the final would be an Irish, which is John Powers Lane. John Lane, which is a Powers. This is a pot still. We have 100% malt, 100%, well, pot still is mostly malt, 100% malt, and then we have a bourbon. So we have 3 different whiskeys, 3 different classes, and 3 from the big legacies, right? So this game is all about nosing the correct whiskey. So I have 3 poker chips here. We have white, which will represent the clear glass. We have red that represents the red glass. And I don't have a green poker chip for some reason, but I used blue for that. So those would be the actual poker chips. So under each whiskey bottle, the poker chip is there. And I'm gonna basically nose each whiskey and say, can I predict which whiskey am I actually sniffing? But threw a little wrinkle in here, and again, this is really good for people that are learning to nose and become better at the nose, which I'm still trying to do. I went ahead and swirled the glasses, or I didn't, my wife did, sorry. My wife went ahead and swirled the glasses about 15 minutes ago, and now they've just been sitting here. The ethanol should have evaporated, so now when I actually nose it, I should be able to get lots of flavors and not have any of the alcohol or ethanol to fight with, right? So where most newer whiskey maker or whiskey enthusiasts get in trouble is they put their nose in there and take a big deep breath with their mouth shut, and they blow up their old factory because the ethanol just goes up there and just creates havoc. So by swirling the glasses, returning the whiskey back into the bottle, as the evaporation happens, I should be able to really pull out good notes inside of here. So the fun part of this game is ideally I want to go 3 for 3. I want to be able to put each glass in front of the correct whiskey bottle. But here's the fun part. If I go 1 for 3, which is possible, I get a pour of that. So I get rewarded, right? For the riches come spoils. So if I get 1 right, I get a pour. If I can't really go 2 right, I don't think the math would work. But if I get all 3 right, then I get to pick which one I want to pour from. So that I get a little bit of control. If I go 0 for, no free spoils for me. So that means I get nothing, you know. So again, hey, it's just a day off of drinking. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna kind of nose, kind of move the glasses around, and then again, see if how well I actually predict what this is. So here's the cool part. I drink a lot of Glenkitchy. I really enjoy Redwood Empire. Powers, I drink quite as well. So I have a pretty good understanding of what the flavors are and things along that lines, but here's the beauty. Can I figure it out with the nose? And these are all gonna be roughly in the 90 proof range, so all relatively similar. So let's start with green. Let's nose this baby. I'm getting sweet, but not bourbon sweet. I'm getting malty sweet. I'm getting more honeys. It's nice though. On the nose, a lot of sweet. I'm getting a hint of vanilla in the background. Interesting. But again, it's not what I would consider a bourbon sweet. So, knowing what I have here, I know Glenkitchy is a lowland Scotch. I tend to get more floral, more beachy notes out of it. This one I'm getting malt. I'm getting It's actually quite lovely. I'm going to go with, this is probably John Powers, just because it is a malted whiskey, but it doesn't have kind of the flavor profile of what I think of a Scotch, right? So now we'll go clear glass here. Woo! That has a completely different nose than this, and it is a malt as well. I'm getting much more floral, right? So with the Glenkichie, I tend to get more floral notes than I do from the actual Powers. So again, I kind of stack the deck here. I try to make it as fair and easy as possible so I didn't look like a big numbskull. But again, I'm getting lots of floral. I'm definitely getting malt. I'm not getting a ton of sweetness, but I am getting the malt flavor, which is sweet in itself. And I'm also getting a little more medicinal smell to this. So again, I'm going to move this one over to Glenkichie. And then the last glass, that's home right there. I mean, that is maple sugar sweet. A little bit of spice, a little bit of pepper. Vanilla dancing all in that glass. That's good. I mean, that is a good bourbon, right? So again, I went out of the way to try to make this as fair as possible to get the best comparison. In the future, we're going to do bourbon and like 3 different bourbons. We might even do, 3 different Irishes. We might even do 3 Lowlands. We might do 3 Highlands. We might do 3 Islas. So we're going to start to play games like this, but out of the gate, I hope that you have access to 3 whiskeys. It doesn't have to be these 3, but you kind of play the same game and start to get your nose better. So I'm going Glenkichie is white. I'm going Redwood Empire is red, and I'm going Powers is blue. That would be kind of my progression of what I think the whiskeys are. But again, to give you a little insight, Glenkichie is a Scotch. It is out of the Lowlands, just outside of Edinburgh. I think to me, I've had a bunch of the Glenkichies, the 12 for some reason I really enjoy. For me, it's like taking a walk on a beach. There's a little bit of medicinal, beachy, grassy kind of flavors to it. Very floral. I'm not the hugest floral guy, but this one finds a really good balance. Redwood Empire, I'm a fan of just because it is a bourbon. I like bourbons, but I think it's got a completely little bit different flavor profile than most bourbons. Kind of how I think they blend barrels from 4 years old to 12 years old. So you're getting a kind of a blend. Is their Empire, and again, Glenkichie is a 12-year-old, and then we got Powers over here, which is a pot still. This is 12 years old. What is a pot still by rule with Irish? I think it has to be a largest percent. I don't want to give exact percentages because I don't remember quite offhand, but the largest percent piece has to be malted barley. Then it has to have, I think, 30% just barley, and then or other oat, and like 5% other oat. So it's predominantly malted. It does have a certain percentage barley, and then it can have a other component, a different grass, a different grain, things along that lines. So I know with Drochambeau they use oat, I think. So again, it gives you that little bit of playground. Again, 3 completely different, distinct whiskeys. Like I said, I really had my wife stack the deck on this one just to try to make it as noticeable for me, to kind of show you how again, probably a year or 2 ago, I would have struggled to try to figure these out. But to me right now, these 3 were completely self-evident. So let's go and see how well I do. Let's bring the Glenkichie up first. And drum roll, please. Ha-ha. 1 for 1. So worst case today, I get a pour of Glenkichie, which you don't go wrong with. Number 2, Redwood Empire. I'm 100% confident I got this one right. Ha-ha. Red and red. So of course that means Power is correct as well. I went 3 for 3 on my actual nosing of the whiskeys. So again, to me, this is a fun game. Like I said, we're going to make it more and more challenging. And then what I will start to do on upcoming episodes where this game is played, I'll start to send you the 3 whiskeys that we're gonna do, and you can play along with me. And again, you don't have to do it blind and try to figure it out, but you can actually pour them, let them evaporate before you actually watch the episode and actually start to nose them and see if you start pulling out some notes that I have, and I'd love to hear what notes you pull out. Again, my nose and palate is nowhere near as refined as a lot of my friends. I'm a little more Neanderthal, me like, me no like. However, my nose, as I continue to do this, I continue to progress, has gotten better and better. So I encourage you to join me as well. And if I'm going to do a pour, which one am I going to go with today? I'm going to go Redwood Empire, just because that nose, I mean, it's just spectacular. So what we're going to do is we're going to celebrate the fact that we got this correct. We're going to pour a little bit of bourbon in there. And now, like I said, maple sweet, I got some vanilla, I got some oak, really, really a little bit of spice. So now let's go in here and taste it and see if we can find some of that. A lot of maple syrup, vanilla, a little bit of oak, jumps into some pepper, and the finish is just sweet. I mean, it's like sucking on a candy bar. I mean, it is just pure sweetness on the back end. The pepper hangs around a little bit, but again, fine quality whiskey here. So I want to thank you again for taking your time to listen to Whiskey Nose. This is Brian Bailey here again. We will be bringing more games like this again in every podcast and everything we want to do. We want to give you concepts and understanding and knowledge, but we want to give you some practical games and tools to be able to elevate your game and your whiskey ability as well as golf. That's why we're here. This is what we do. And we want to thank you again for joining us. Hey, shout out to everybody that's been helping us, pushing our brand, getting us out in front of more people. I encourage you, if you've listened to this, please go to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Those are the main 3. Like us, go to Golf Cask, like us, smash the like button for us. And again, you'll be able to get some more updates through there. And then of course, go to golfcast.com to join us. So thank you again, and I look forward to bringing you some more games next week. Cheers. Life is good. All right, Golfcast Nation, this is Brian Bailey here talking timing inside of putting and timing inside of whiskey as what the barrel does. So what we're going to really focus in on is timing and putting. I think this is a skill most people do not spend enough time on, especially putts inside of 10 feet. Your ability to deliver it to the hole and past, right? So when we talk about timing inside of the putting stroke, our ability to move in length and in time, right? I can move here and move really fast. Right? I could go really, really long and really, really slow. And my goal is to be able to create a putt that goes 10 to 12 feet every time I'm trying to go to 10 feet. So right here at the end of my board is a 10-foot putt. So what I want to try to figure out is what length do I need to go back and what time through can I generate a 10-foot putt? So just for giggles, we're going to go really short and really quick. Definitely a putt that goes 12 feet. And now we're going to do that same motion. Now I'm going to triple it in length, right? So I'm going to go really, really long and really, really slow. Again, a putt that was going to go 10 feet. And then I could find something in between. So here's the beauty of the system. There's no right or wrong way, just like whiskey, right? There's no right or wrong way to drink a whiskey or what type of whiskey you enjoy. It really comes down to what you do and how you do it best. I know short and quick is death for me, and I know super long, super slow is death for me. I know somewhere in between. So what we're going to do is at 10 feet, I'm going to figure out how far I'm going to have to take this putter back, and this will be about a foot. So I'm going to take the putter back about a foot and go about a foot through. And to me, that is a very, very happy place to be. Now I can kind of control the length of my stroke, the timing of my putt, thus it allows me to make more putts, right? So if I go really short, really quick, I pull on the handle a lot, I can have a lot of face variance, and again, a lot of speed control issues because everything is done with accelerations. And again, if I go really super long, really super slow, I can have some variance as well, because the club's going to kind of float in space because there's not a rhythm and there's no forces trying to keep the putter involved. So for me, I know roughly, ideally, at about 10 feet, I'm about 12 inches past. So about 12 inches behind, 12 inches throw, and I make really, really good putts. And again, if I can control speed, if I can control distance from 10 to 12 feet, every time I putt it, I always have tap-ins. If they don't go in the hole, I have tap-ins coming back, right? To me, tap-in is anything inside of 2 feet. And again, we can just sit here all day and just make putts. And that's what we want to get to, is by having a stroke that is well balanced. By talking well balanced, I want it a foot back and basically a foot through. I don't want it a foot back and 6 feet through. I don't want it 4 inches back and a foot through. I want it well balanced, ideally foot to foot. That just means I'm putting in about the same amount of energy. I'm not pulling on the shaft. I'm not pulling, tugging on the shaft. I'm not rotating the face. I'm not trying to put too much energy in the system to basically make this thing start to turn. That is death, right? Most putting strokes fail when the putt gets here, and then as soon as we pull on the shaft or on the handle, we create issues, right? So I've learned over time, for me, it's about a foot back, a foot through. I can roll it 10 to 12 feet. On a stimp, my stimp here on the carpet is probably about 10, 11, which is what I normally play. So it's a really good way for me to go train as well. But again, if I can start delivering things at speed, control my length and time together, right? Again, length is how far, time is how fast we move in that. So to think a little bit more about time, take a couple more of these putts. What would happen if I do my length at 12 inches back, right? 12 inches back, but I accelerate a lot. Way too much energy, right? Way too much energy. What if I do the exact opposite? What if I go 12 inches back, but I move really, really slow? Not enough energy. So this is where time becomes important, right? Like time in the barrel. This is going to add complexity. It's going to add flavors. It's going to make the whiskey taste better. It's going to make my putt better, right? Because I have less pieces that are going to go wrong. I've aged this perfectly with time and length. And I can just sit here and deliver the same putt every time to the center of the cup. And that is, to me, understanding time and length is a key asset if you want to become a good putter. Green reading is number 1. Number 2 is actually being able to control length and time. 3 would be start line, where the face points. That's where I see most people and everybody train to. It's not the best way to go. So once you have your green reading down, which I encourage you to take aim point, you can come take a class with me and we can enjoy some whiskey or find a wonderful aim point instructor around the world. But again, I want to be able to control time and distance and just make 10 footers. Like they're going, I'm only supposed to be making like 40%. I think I'm turning in about 60% right now, 70%. This is how good I am. Look, no, I'm kidding. So again, to me, understanding time and length is really, really important if you want to elevate that next level of putting. And again, at 10 feet, most people have a 10-foot carpet or can buy a 10-foot putting green. You can train 10 feet and in. Think of how many strokes in your last round of golf you gave away shots because your distance control from the hole was just not where it needed to be. I'm going to give you some more games and videos following up. Our game of the week, we're going to highlight a little bit more inside of this. So be on the watch of that coming here in a second. But hey, thank you so much. Again, this was time and length and starting to understand the maturation of a good putting stroke. Thank you so much.
Let's elevate our skills with golf games.
All right, Golfcast Nation, this is Brian Bailey here bringing you one of my favorite putting games. It's challenging but fun. I call it progression. We have balls starting at 3 feet, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have to make a putt from each distance, and I do this in progression model. So we can either start at 10 feet and work to 3, or work 3 feet and progress to 10. If I miss the putt at my handicap level, I get 2 bonus balls, right? So if I miss a putt, I'm allowed to replace it and do it over. I have 2 kind of redos, right? Once I do my redos, if I miss a putt, game's over. It's done. It's a fail. I have poured me some wonderful Redwood Empire over here, so I do have my pour of choice. Oh, let's even do this. I'll put this puppy right here. That is my pour of choice if I actually succeed here. And again, I'm gonna work backwards to front because I like to go 10 feet to 3 feet, because when I get my 3 and 4 footers, it puts more pressure on me, and that's kind of what you feel in a tournament usually, is more pressure as we get closer to the hole. And again, we have to understand, I'm only gonna be in the 30 percentile range at 8 feet. I'm gonna be about 50%, and then in front of that, the odds are in my favor. So 10, 9, 8 really are the hardest distances to make. And again, I'm gonna start here, and again, I get 2 bonus balls. If you're upper 70s, low 80s, you can go to 3 golf balls bonuses. If you're mid 80s to upper, low 90s, you can go 4 balls. If you're in the hundreds, you can go 5 or 6 ball replacements. Again, you can add as many bonus balls as you want, but as you get better, you're gonna start pulling that out. As you start beating the game and you have a lot of golf balls left over, you're gonna start pulling that out of the system. So here we go, we're gonna start at 10 feet. And if I can make this one, I always feel good about this drill. Starting to feel good, but not too good, because 9, I'm still kind of upper 30s. Odds are still not in my favor. Feel really good now. Now I'm kind of 50-50 here. So again, if I make a good stroke, I like this. 7 feet, am I getting overconfident? No. 6 feet, here we go. 5 feet, oh my goodness. Don't tell me this is not gonna happen. This is not normal. There we go. 5 feet, I missed, so I'm gonna jump back in here. And 5 feet, I should have been in kind of the 70 percentile make rate. 4 feet, and we should be up around 90. And then 3 feet, I should be well 95 plus. With 1 bonus ball to go, nailed the progression game. So again, here is a fun game for you to really start to work on putts from 3 to 10 feet and really get an understanding of where you are and where you need to work. And if you can start making this progression drill where you're down to 1 ball or no, one or 2 bonus golf balls, you're getting it done inside of 10 feet. Great game, lots of fun, and hey, for the winners come the spoils. Cheers, Salancha. Redwood Empire Pipe Dream. If you haven't had it, I really encourage you to give it a shot. Thank you so much, and look forward to bringing you more videos and skill games to come. Thank you.
Time for closing thoughts and a toast.
All right, so let's wrap up episode 9 here. What we really learned today, we learned a lot about the char and how important that filtering process and that flavor, how it creates flavor by allowing the whiskey to move in and out of the barrel. Easier or harder, it can really influence the taste of your whiskey and how important that is. Also, the nosing game, I really enjoyed it. It was super easy, granted. I gave 3, I told my wife to use 3 completely different whiskey bottles that are not very close. I think next time I might do my 3 favorite Virginia whiskeys and see if I can nose my way through that. But again, this will be an episode that we're going to do, but I encourage you at home to play the whiskey nose game and just start to really create a better nose for you. The better nose creates better tasting. Better tasting means you pull out different flavors, which means your whiskey only gets better and better, and that's what we're really looking for. Game-wise, to me, I killed it on progression. Really funny. I'm pretty much 1 to 2 golf balls to work my way through. So again, kind of hit my standard inside of that for putting. But I think, again, for the player to be able to understand what it takes to move the putter in time and length and to be able to deliver the ball at a constant speed past the hole, anywhere from a foot to 2 feet past. Again, being able to dial that up as a standard is really good. And then you have uphills, downhills, of course, you can adjust easily by either taking away length or time, or vice versa. So again, the beauty of it is you can control. Once you truly understand time and length are kind of this, kind of cousins, kind of intermixed. Once you understand that, you can override the system by adding more time, taking away time, adding more length, taking away length. So you do have that luxury. So again, to me, this is a huge piece for newbies, casuals, and dangerous players. If you want to become that elite golfer, that enthusiast golfer, being able to control distance on the putting green is huge. And now let's go ahead and end our podcast today with our toast. This comes from the world's best dad, which is Dark Door Spirits, based out of Tampa, Florida. This is Barrel Select. We're looking at 121 proof, or 60.4, 60.5 alcohol by volume. So cheers, thank you, and here's the toast. Here's to perfect timing, both on the green and in the barrel. Just as mastering the length of a putt requires precision and patience, so does the maturation of a fine whiskey. May we all find the right balance and the perfect touch, and the patience to let both our putts and our pours mature to perfection. Cheers to the journey and the rewards that await.